Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. My name's John Lunn, aka Jonnychipz, and this is week 2 of Jonnychipz Weekly, and it's the 8th of January 2021. Let's check out what's gone on in the last week in the world of Azure. So hey, thanks everybody for tuning in again. Wow, first week back in the new year, where did that go? I think I commented on social media that just flew by in a shot. I think landed Monday morning with a bump after a nice sort of week and a half break, and straight back into it. No rest for the wicked, as they say. So anyway, it's Friday. It's time for my second edition of Jonnychipz Weekly. I'm going to kick off really by just giving a quick, brief overview of some of the announcements that we've had over the last week in terms of Azure. I thought I'd kick on then with a few of the personal bits, the community bits and pieces that I've been working on the last week and what I put out there, and just bring some bits and pieces to your attention. And then we'll look at some of the side projects that I got on the go, and where I'm going with them, why I'm doing them, and what the list, as long as my arm, looks like in things that I want to get on with. So on that note, let's kick on. Let's have a little look about the updates. So from the perspective of Azure, we've had 5 updates this week, which is great. Let's kick off with the first one. So basically, Microsoft have announced a new data center region in Chile. They've named it Transformer Chile. The idea is to accelerate growth and business transformation. They've got a new data center region going in. They've got a skilling commitment for up to 180,000 citizens in Chile, and they're putting an advisory board in there. So, I mean, it's great news. I mean, there's no other way of looking at it. The investment that Microsoft are putting in across the globe is really the expansion of Azure data centers and Azure regions are phenomenal. So if you've got any customers that have operations or bases out in that part of the world, then great to know. I'm not sure if there's any ETA on that at the moment, but it's great to know that it's in development. And if you want to know more, obviously jump onto my website, jonnychipz.com, click on the Azure Updates link, and follow the links through to look at that more information. Okay, the next announcement this week is that this is now available. So Azure Health Bot has now gone generally available. So this is a service I've not had much personal use with, but as I understand it, the Microsoft Health Bot has been around for a little while, and there's some great products and offerings in that vertical, so that healthcare industry. And the point of this announcement, I believe, is that they're moving all of that into Azure. So the ability to create these conversational AI type healthcare bots to do some great, fantastic, innovative things within the healthcare industry is now part and parcel in Azure. Again, follow the link to learn a little bit more about that, but that's a great announcement to show how we're going in that world of AI, machine learning, and bots. Okay, next announcement, we're looking at cross-resource queries between Azure Monitor and the Azure Data Explorer. So this is in preview at the moment, I think this announcement is. And I believe the basic principle of this is really to allow a user or an IT pro or whoever may be querying these areas to really just create one query and cross-platform, just query both areas and get those results back. So there's more information here if you feel this is something that relates to you, but certainly from a monitoring perspective and sort of log analytics workspace perspective, that kind of thing. If you want to be able to modify your queries to look at all of these areas in one custo query, that's a great announcement. Not too sure again when that's going to be in GA, but of course it's in preview now. Like anything, give it a whirl, give it a try, see if that works out for you, and report back any things that you find may be an issue. The Microsoft team and product teams are always looking for that kind of feedback. Okay, and the next one that we have for this week, this has gone into development. Okay, so this is a bit of a technical announcement here, but so activity log alerts, what I think Microsoft are looking at doing is they're changing this property in those log alerts. So it's a little bit of a technical one. I'm not going to profess to know the ins and outs of it, but just on the brief read that I've had, it looks to be that if you're running any of these log alerts and you're either you're using this description field or you're reporting or whatever it may be that you're doing with that description field, basically the property name looks like it's going to have to change. for a reason that's described in here. So just a bit of a heads up. This is in development. Microsoft is saying from the 1st of April this year, there will be a change in these log alerts. So this description property is going to be changed essentially to a property called activity log event description. So if you feel this is relevant to you and you're doing something with those log alerts, check it out. Keep on top of it. Make sure you're aware of it because you may need to change some things. Okay, and I believe the final Azure announcement for this week is Azure Policy now supports. They put another couple of inbuilt policies for network security group flow logs, which is great. I mean, anything to make our lives a little bit easier is fantastic. So it looks like, obviously, back last year, Microsoft announced that there were some ARM templates that were there to support NSG flow logs. So really turning on that login, that layer 4 IP flows ins and outs of NSGs, so sort of logging that information. So they were available last year. And I believe what this announcement is around is that there's a couple of policies now. So built-in policies Microsoft have released. So the first one is an audit policy, so we can flag NSGs where they don't have those flow logs enabled. So in other words, if you've got an area of your subscription resource group, you've got VNets, VMs, whatever it may be, with an NSG around it, if you don't have a flow log enabled, in other words, you can't tell what is going in and out of that, you can use Azure Policy now to flag that, so at least you're aware that you've got an NSG there that doesn't have this enabled. And the other policy, it looks like Microsoft have released, is this: if you do use deploy if not exists as part of your sort of Azure governance or Azure policy, maybe it's a landing zone thing, you've got the ability now to enable flow logs on those NSGs where it has been disabled. So in other words, you can put that policy in place. If you use that deploy if not exist policy, you can get that to enable your flow logs on NSGs, which is a great, like I say, anything to make our lives, easier and obviously make our environments more secure and safer to use. So that's it in terms of the announcements from Azure. Keep an eye on that. Like I say, I tend to try and keep an eye on these Azure updates on a relatively frequent basis. It's a great website to look at. Like I say, I've got a link off my blog site there. So there's an Azure Updates link if you just want to quickly flick to it. I pull in the latest updates, and like I say, they generally tend to change on a weekly basis. It's always good. Don't need to read them in any great detail unless it's something very pertinent to you, but just at least keep a high-level scan so at least you've got that broad understanding of some of the changes, because there's always some great changes coming through. And on that note, okay, that's the end of the Azure Updates part of the show. What I thought I'd do now is kick on into some of the community bits and pieces that I've been looking at this week. And obviously, since the break and coming back into the new year, I've had time to switch off, spend some time with the family. But we had a great community Welsh Azure user group session with Abel Wang and April Edwards just before Christmas. Really well attended, some great feedback and some brilliant talks. In the back of my mind, I was thinking, wow, how are we going to match that in terms of the Welsh Azure user group? So come back into this week. So this week I've had a catch up with the guys in the team, and I'm just overwhelmed. There's just so much brilliant stuff going on at the moment. So there'll be more announcements as we go, but for now, one of the things that we decided to do, so we've got our Jan meetup for January 21st. That's in the bag. What I'll probably do is quickly call up that and speak about that first. But essentially, we've got that all set up at the moment, and we've got two great talks going on at that meetup. So, firstly, we've got Graham Martin coming on the Jan 21st meetup to talk about Azure Synapse and obviously those recent announcements on Azure Purview just before Christmas there from Microsoft. So we've got Graham coming on to really give us a good overview of both Synapse and Purview and how they tie together, how they don't, all of that good stuff. And then another great, I'm looking forward to this talk as well. From Christos Matskas, he's coming on. He's a senior PM. He's based over in Seattle. He's coming on the user group to talk about so identity management and Azure AD identity for developers. So just showing us how a developer can view that and really there's a great abstract there from Christos. Jump onto our Microsoft Azure user group, Welsh Azure user group Meetup link. It's there again. If you go through to my my blog, all the links are there for you to see. Sign up, RSVP. We'd love to see you there. And like I say, after having a chat with the Welsh user group team, we've kind of decided to try and mix things up a little bit. So we put a call out this week in March. So our March event is going to be held on the 18th of March. Again, it's all virtual, but we put a call for speakers. We're looking to try and transform that event rather than it being 2 sort of 45 minutes sessions on some great subject area. We thought, well, let's try setting up a lightning talk session. So at the minute, we planned for around 6 speakers. So far, I mean, I only announced this with the team sort of, I think, 2 days ago, earlier on this week, and the response has been phenomenal. And I'm keen to harness that response. I think we will probably look to obviously make sure that March event happens. Maybe we might expand the March event slightly, but I think we're keen to kind of facilitate everybody that's put in a response. So watch this space on that one. But the idea is, if you've got a great lightning talk that you'd like to come and give as part of the Welsh Azure user group, maximum 15 minutes. Jump onto my blog area. There's this post here, Welsh Azure user group call for speakers. Follow the link through to Sessionize, submit your session, give us a little bit of an abstract what it's about. We're going to aim to get back to everybody by, I believe, the 18th of February. So we're leaving it open for a month. We might have to review that for the number of responses we've had back, but it's great, guys. Keep them coming. We really do appreciate it. And like I say, we want to make a great event so that we've got a great piece of content that, somebody can just jump on. My idea is I'll time mark where everybody's talk is so people can jump to a relevant, decent, section that interests them. And of course, those that attend in person will have a great, sort of rapid fire set of sessions, which I'm really excited to do and be part of. So yeah, keep an eye on that. If you've got a talk, get it submitted through Sessionize. We'd love to hear from you, and looking forward to that event. Okay, other news this week from the world of Jonnychipz. So this year, again, for those of you that watched my week 1 and have been following me at the back end of last year, you'll know that I've transitioned now from this kind of theme of 100 Days of Cloud, where it's all about the learning and the process of learning. And I thought I'd set myself a new challenge with 1, this weekly video, and 2, I've set up a new sort of YouTube series, and I'm calling it In Conversation With. And I had the pleasure to sit down with Dean Ellaby, who is a great colleague and friend of mine. And the idea was I'll speak with Dean. Dean is an architect like myself in the same team that I am. He focuses on Microsoft 365, so the modern desktop side of things. So I thought I'd just have a chat with Dean. So Dean has been a person I've worked with quite closely over the last sort of 7 years or so, and we've compared notes. We've had a chat around all sorts of things. So thought we'd just put it on video, and it was not scripted at all. It was just a one-off, just to understand how Dean is finding this fast-paced, changing sort of technology world that we're all living in, how he handles that kind of constant pressure to keep on top of not only his own skill sets, but obviously the pace of change from technology as it gets released by Microsoft. So we had an hour chat. Check it out. It's on this YouTube channel, so check it out below somewhere. I'll probably put a link up there in the corner. There it is. It's flashing. So if you want to watch that video, check it out there. But it was great. So I'm hopeful that in my mind, I'm thinking maybe once a month, but we'll see how that goes. It may be twice a month, but we'll see. I mean, it was great fun recording that with Dean. Thank you, Dean. Check it out. Hopefully you like it. Comment, subscribe, like. Give us some feedback if you can. That would be brilliant. And on that note, the other thing that we've had this week is I thought I'd upload a copy of a session I did with Mertia to just before Christmas again. I did a session with MS How To Live. It was based on AZ Ops, so how to deploy and manage your Azure Enterprise Scale landing zones using GitHub and obviously GitHub Actions, AZ Ops, that mechanism of being able to define all your Azure policy and your governance and export that and hold that in a GitHub repo, modify that on your own local machine using VS Code or your editor of choice, and then upload that, push that back to your Git repo and have that automatically deploy. You can put checks and balances and checks in place, but have that fundamentally automatically deploy and push straight back into your Azure environment. If that's something you might feel is of interest to you, please do go in. Again, it's on my YouTube channel, or go to the MS How To Live YouTube channel. Give that a watch. Again, like, subscribe, that would be great. And on that note, I thought what I'd do now is just give you a little bit of a heads up for what I've got going on from a little bit of a side project. So first and foremost, you would have known from the previous video, one of the exams I'm hopefully going to focus on, I've literally done a handful of things at the moment. So I'm really keen and really excited to want to be working towards this this specialism. So this IoT developer specialism AZ220 exam. I've had a chat with a few people around Twitterland, which has been great. They've given me some great links and feedback. Follow me, find the guys on there. You've got Pete Gallagher, you've got Hugo Barona. They've given some great advice as to sort of learning plans and things to follow and things to look at. And I know Pete has done some Pluralsight courses that I've bookmarked, but I need time to watch. So they're undoubtedly going to be fantastic. But like I say, follow those guys if you're interested in that, because they've got, it's phenomenal what those guys have got going on. So thank you for those little nudges, guys. But yeah, so this is where I'm kind of aiming towards at the moment. This is my next sort of certification thing that I'm looking at doing. So, on that note, the kind of reasons behind it are if you've watched any of my social media at the minute, again, this was an inspiration from Pete's, I think, just before Christmas with the Azure Tech calendar event. The guys from Azure Live and Pete Gallagher did this demonstration of building a robot arm and programming it, using .NET, putting that program onto the robot arm via a Raspberry Pi, and then creating a Blazor web app assembly sort of front end. So you can see there in the background there's a Blazor web app, and then using this mechanism of Signal R, so being able to fundamentally send sort of HTTP messages between the firmware that's located on the Raspberry Pi and the Blazor web app, using Signal R. So I thought, yeah, that it's just something like I said, I did a little bit of coding back a long time ago. I was never a developer, but I thought it just triggered. It's like great. So I thought at some point I'm going to do a little blog post about this, just to show how I'd gone about it and what I'd done. But some of the stuff that I've gone through. So the robot arm is there. You can see, obviously you can't see it greatly, but there's my little breadboard with the servo card in there that's powering the 4 motors. So there's a motor under here. There's one each side of the robot arm. Then of course there's a servo motor on the end. Fundamentally this is the result. So again, I put this out on social media, but what you can see me doing here is this is my Blazor web app here that I'm looking at with a few sliders on the page, and I'm literally using my mouse to control those sliders, which in turn use Signal R to put that message in a message hub, and then the firmware that's located on the Raspberry Pi here is in connection with that message hub via Signal R, and getting those messages down, printing something out on my output display here in my VS Code, and of course sending the signal to move the servos, which is fundamentally what it's all about. There's loads of ways that I want to take this, and I'm going to do my best to do that. Again, time dependent, but I want to hook that into IoT Hub in Azure. I want to look at getting some reports. I want to, have that device registered in Azure, and just have a play. Thinking about putting a little LCD display somewhere on here, so from a remote location we can log on. There's loads. The options are endless essentially. So that's a little side project. If you're interested, hit me up, comment, follow Twitter. But like I say, Pete it's your fault, Pete, if you're watching this. But no, it's been great. I absolutely love it, and hopefully you can tell that. More than happy to speak to anybody about that. the other thing, again, this is Pete again. You know, he spur of the moment decision, and this is what led to the robot arm. Was essentially that robot arm that you just saw was effectively, you know, it's not great quality if you can really see it, because look, it took me a little while to get to grips with the 3D printer, but that was printed off by a 3D printer. So all of these purple components, these black components, well, apart from the motors, all the cabling and boards and obviously battery holders, they were all purchased off Amazon. And at some stage, if anybody's interested, I'm happy to, you know, point people in the right direction. Or I might even, as part of my blog post, list it all out. But let me know in the comments below if it's something you're interested in. I'll put it all together. But all of these purple parts and this little black cover and that little black part there, they were all printed off on this 3D printer. And the reason for me bringing this 3D printer in now is it's been something that I've been working on over the last week with, again, if you followed my social media, you've seen that I bought this just before Christmas. I did okay with it, printed a few bits and pieces, got a few failures, wasn't 100% sure what I was doing with it, watching YouTube, blogging. So I decided, right, okay, I'll buy a few upgrade modification parts, because I was getting problems with prints failing, with prints being a little bit bad quality. So essentially what I've done, there's a few things I've done here. For those of you that are interested, I've changed this bed to a glass. So this is a heated bed. So basically it's heated to allow the PLA, the filament, the stuff that prints out, to stick to the bed. I've changed it to a glass bed, because what I'm thinking is printing straight onto the glass, it gives a reasonably nice finish on that side of the print. The other thing I've done, my idea is at some point I'm going to print off a few things, so I'm going to get a little drawer in here, but I'm going to go for the theme of blue in colour. So I bought myself a few little blue aluminium sort of screws, so they set the bed level. And the two major things that there's three major things, I guess, that I've changed here. One is the board that sits inside this box here. I've changed the main board to what they know as a silent motherboard. So if you're familiar with this is an Ender 3 Pro, Creality Ender 3 Pro 3D printer. If you're familiar with the sound of the printer, it sounds like at times somebody dragging their nails over a board. So there's lots of squeaking and funny little noises going on. There's a board that you can buy. It's a version 4.2.7 motherboard for this particular model that you can change over, and it gets rid of that noise. So the only noise I now hear when I turn it on are the noises from these fans. So I think at some point I might change these fans and maybe the power supply fan, and it'll make it completely quiet, completely silent when it's printing, which is great. The other major thing is this little red light thing here is called a BL Touch. So it's an auto bed leveler. Again, you know, the cabling goes round here and it goes into the motherboard. But the idea is, I'll show you a little video of what it does in a second. But that's the other thing I changed. I'll come back to how it works now. Another thing is this little device here is the extruder mechanism. So when you buy the machine, that is generally black plastic. And I had a few little niggles with it, with the little gripper. The cog was moving up and down, and it's difficult to get when you change your PLA. It's difficult to pull it in and out. So I changed that to a metal one. And at the same time as that, in the kit that I bought, you get this blue tube where your filament kind of feeds through, which apparently is meant to be better. No idea. I mean, I'm guessing so. People say that it is, so I'll take their word for it. Yeah, I think that was about it in terms of upgrades. So I think, I mean, there's the first bit that I did. So this is the old board. They are the same. This is a version. I don't know if you can. I don't know if I can zoom in on there. But that is a version 4.2.2 board. And the board that I changed, I don't know if you can see it on yet, but there we go. It's upside down. It's 4.2.7. So this is the silent motherboard, and you can see that it was great. You know, it looks a bit daunting if you're not used to wires and things like that. I'm not really. I did electronics GCSE, and I've done a little bit of electrics in my past. But you know, hopefully, just watch a YouTube video if you're interested in doing this. You know, it's not that difficult to unplugging things and plugging things back in. So that was a motherboard that was upgraded. I'll move on to what else we got here. Oh yeah, so part of the new upgrades, I mean, I put what they call GCode. So in Cura, which is the program that you use to slice and produce your GCode, which you can then print, you can add funny little messages. So when it's ready, once it's done all its checks, it's done its bed leveling, I just put that nice little message. Jonnychipz rollout. In other words, we're printing. There's a little video of this is the BL Touch. So I guess this is what it does effectively is it takes 9 points across your bed, and it will do this. It takes about a minute or so to do this each time. It's always best to do it before each print, so you know. Basically, what it's doing is it's taking recordings and measurements so that it knows when it prints, when it raises that Z-axis up, it's raising it the right level so that your print doesn't error. That was the idea anyway behind it. So far, I've had some, great prints off it. I haven't got them to hand here, but hopefully you can see that this is the idea. If you don't use this auto bed level, these blue screws, basically you turn them up and turn them down to pull the bed up or down in each corner. And that's it. So that was the bed level, and you can see there through my Octopi, which is on my. If I flick back to one of these, you can see in the background here I got a little Raspberry Pi that is hooked up to the motherboard here via this USB. So sorry, the picture's just out of shot there, but my Raspberry Pi sits behind, and on that Raspberry Pi is something called Octoprint, which is basically it turns your Raspberry Pi into what they call an Octopi. And it's a control mechanism for your 3D printer rather than having to be at the interface itself. And you can see here there's a little plugin called Bed Level or Bed Level Visualization. You can see it shows you how out of kilter your bed is. So I spent a little while making sure it was all green, getting that bed completely level. And that's purely, doesn't matter, but that was purely just to get that bed set level. Then in theory, that bed leveler will be spot on every time. And if it's not, then the auto bed leveler will take care of it. Hopefully you found use of that. I know I said I was going to be sort of 15 minutes on these sessions. I've been 27 minutes on this one, so apologies, guys, if you've stuck around to the end. I really appreciate it. Like I say, first week back after the new year has been both busy and great and fun, and there's lots more to come next week. So thanks for watching, guys. Really do appreciate that. And if you've got anything to add, anything to mention, please comment. Really appreciate a like and subscribe and share if you can. Reach out if there's anything that you found of interest here today. Then reach out, have a chat. More than happy to. And on that note, I'm looking for more speakers for my In Conversation With. So if you want to be a speaker, I would love to have you, love to have a chat with you. Reach out to me. But on that note, thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Thanks for watching and sticking around. And I will catch up with you next week. Until then, bye for now.